Good evening. I would like to call the school board meeting for Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 for the Des Moines Public Schools to order. It's really great to see everybody, and I also have to make a special shout out to our young people that are here that we'll be hearing from. It's always wonderful to have you here and to participate and to be part of this process, so thank you for being here. Ms. Rios, could you please take the roll?
Yes. Ms. Alonso?
Here.
Ms. Campos?
Here.
Mr. Dix?
Here.
Ms. Knox?
Here.
Ms. Martirana?
Here.
Dr. Mayberry Mays?
Here.
Ms. Norris?
Here.
We have quorum.
I do also want to point out that our superintendent is online. He is out on the West Coast accepting a bit of recognition on behalf of Des Moines Public Schools. So he is present and participating. You just don't see him sitting right next to me. The first item of business is approval of the agenda, and I have a few friendly amendments, board members. We are going to add board governance as a topic to our work session as opposed to talking about
Only budget.
only budget. Yeah, okay, so we're adding to that. And then we are going to remove the exempt session, we're removing the closed session, and we're removing the presentation on reimagining education. So with that friendly amendment, may I have a motion and a second to approve the revised agenda?
Alonso so moved. Campos second.
We have a motion by Ms. Alonso and a second by Ms. Campos. Is there any discussion or clarifying questions?
Are we able to make that adjustment to the work session?
What we're actually going to do is we're going to break into 3 small groups.
Okay.
So we're not actually, if we can't make this switch quickly and people feel uncomfortable because it hasn't been posted for 24 hours, then the plan is to meet in 3 small groups. One that will talk about monitoring, one that will talk about financial health, and one that will talk about a different issue, if that
you.
works. Yep, I appreciate you asking. Board Secretary, do you actually have a ruling on that you want to provide?
I don't.
Okay, all right. So, board members, please cast your votes. The vote is approved 7-0. Dr. Mayberry Mays, I believe you are speaking about the public forum.
Yes. We provide speakers at the forum an opportunity to address the board for up to 3 minutes regarding items that are not on the board agenda and up to 5 minutes for agenda items. If anyone wishes to speak during any portion of the business meeting, please email rosa.rios@dmschools.org. The same speaking protocols apply to all individuals who wish to address the board. Speakers will be called individually, and we ask that they state their name and city of residence prior to providing comments. Guests of the board are encouraged to speak to matters relating to the program, services, and operations of DMPS. Please remember that Iowa law prohibits us from discussing specific employees or their job performance. We ask all speakers to avoid reference to personalities or character attacks, as those types of comments do not contribute to the purpose for which this public forum exists. The use of inappropriate language will not be tolerated, and individuals choosing to do so will be gavelled out of order and asked to excuse themselves from the premises or escorted out by district security. As a reminder to the board and public, the board will not engage in a discussion with public forum speakers, as it is our obligation to discuss only matters posted in the public agenda for the sake of transparency and opportunity afforded to all community stakeholders. Matters requiring attention will receive appropriate staff and/or board follow-up at a time after the meeting. Thanks for your participation. We appreciate your feedback and input. Ms. Rios, do we have any speakers for public forum?
Yes, we do. First up, I'll call Lillian Chaden.
And while Lillian's coming to the podium.
Lillian,
Jaden,
sorry.
excuse me. Tasha, would you, upon completion of the speakers, be willing to make yourself available in the hallway if anybody has additional questions? Tasha leads our Central Campus and Career Tech Education program, and so if you have specific questions, she's able to answer them since we can't actually have a conversation because the topic's not on the agenda. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Lillian Chaden, and I'm a current senior at Roosevelt High School and a 3rd year in the Agri-Science program here at Central Campus. I'm here tonight because I cannot stand by and watch the Des Moines FFA chapter and Agri-Science program disappear. This program, and more importantly, Mr. Anderson, have shaped who I am today. Without them, I wouldn't be standing here as the Polk County Fair Queen, a state veterinary science champion, or a contender on the state job interview stage. I would not have the confidence, the passion, or the skills that I carry with me every day. Mr. Anderson is the most passionate individual I've ever met. He doesn't just teach ag, he lives it. He invests in his students, pushes us to be better, and helps us find opportunities we never could have imagined. He taught me leadership, professionalism, and the value of hard work. Without him, I wouldn't have stepped into the Fair Queen role. I wouldn't have competed at the highest levels, and I certainly wouldn't have the voice to stand before you today. But this program is not just about me. It's about the hundreds of students who have benefited from opportunities that no other FFA chapter in the state can provide. We are the only chapter in the state with an on-site barn. We also have 3 greenhouses, a hydroponic system, and an orchard. We are on the cutting edge of agricultural education, providing hands-on experiences to prepare students for their futures. We are a self-sustaining program with help from our student-ran plant sale and livestock auctions. Why take away these life-changing opportunities for students who genuinely want to be participating in them? Not only that, but we are incredibly diverse. Our chapter brings together students from all backgrounds, offering a perspective that bridges the gap between traditional rural agriculture and urban ag. We help students from farming communities see what agriculture looks like from an urban setting, which is something that will only become increasingly important in the coming years. Iowa is built on agriculture. It's in our roots, it's in our economy, and it's in our futures. How can you justify cutting an agricultural education program in a state where farming is the backbone of our communities? But FFA is not just about farming. It's about leadership, science, business, and preparing the next generation to feed, clothe, and care for our world. By cutting this program, you're not just taking away a class. You're taking away opportunities, futures, and a sense of purpose for students like me. So I ask you, why take away something that works? Why access a teacher who has inspired so many? Why eliminate a program who's building your future leaders? Keeping this program means investing in students, in your community, and in the future of the state of Iowa. Please do not take this away from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Lucas Wood.
Good evening, board. My name's Lucas Wood. I'm a senior at Hoover High School and a second year in the agri-science program. I came to speak today because the program is being cut next year, and I think it's unfair and unjustified for it to be happening. I joined late since I joined my junior year rather than my sophomore year, so I've only been able to participate in 2 years. But in those 2 years, I've had all kinds of opportunities and opportunities to meet all kinds of new people. And one of the first opportunities that I think is very unique to our program is raising farm animals because we have the on-site barn. I think that's very important because, especially for me, I grew up on the north side of Des Moines, right near city limits, so I would always be around farms and everything just a couple minutes from my house. But I never had the opportunity to go work on them or work with the animals, and the agri-science program provided that opportunity. So I think that it's very important for people, especially in the city like me, to be able to have that knowledge on raising livestock because it is a big part of agriculture. And another big opportunity that I want to highlight because of how special it is the Plant the Moon project me and 4 others in the program have been working on. We are using moon regolith, or moon soil basically, to research how basil will grow on the moon. So we've been working on a program ran by NASA, and our research gets sent to NASA. And this gives us the opportunity to go down to Florida if we were to win and tour the NASA headquarters and just really be in contact with people in NASA. And you can't get that anywhere else in Des Moines. So I think the agri-science program is a big part of the Des Moines high schools and for students like us because it provides all kind of opportunities that like people all over would dream of. Because I know a lot of little kids would think, oh yeah, working with NASA would be cool, but a lot of them don't get the opportunity. So I think that being an opportunity in the agriculture program is another big thing. And another big benefit, especially because of the impact it's had on me, was the hands-on learning over desk work because going to school for years and years and just sitting at a desk all day is boring. But with the agri-science program, it gives us the opportunity to go work hands-on, whether it be with animals, plants, or even just other things like hydroponic systems. It provides unique learning opportunities for students in the district that may not learn as well just sitting down all day. And even if it's not always hands-on, it's still a big part of it. And it also encourages people because when they're working hands-on with animals and plants, that also gives them the opportunity to see the results from it. Like last year, we had probably, I think it was like 15,000 plants that we all started from either little seeds or just little sprouts. And we sold them throughout April and May at the plant sale, where we get a majority of our funding for. All the programs or all the opportunities in the program have shaped me, who I am as a person. It gave me the motivation to go to school. It helped me be interested in learning because we got to do hands-on work. And it's also given me opportunities, like I said, that you can't get anywhere else in Des Moines. If this program has impacted me so much and so many others before me, think about all the people that maybe won't get the opportunity to be impacted by it next year because maybe they're seniors, or maybe when it comes back in 2 years, they're not interested anymore because they already had the opportunity to join it and weren't able to. I will always be thankful for the program and the teachers in it because without them, I would have never found my passion and interest in plants. Mr. Anderson pushing me to go out of my comfort zone and compete at FFA competitions, Mrs. Mant encouraging me to make friends last year, and Miss Estel encouraging me to do anything plant related. Taking away the program isn't just taking away 5 classes, it's taking away life-changing opportunities for students in the district. I think it's very important that we reconsider closing the program for a year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Milton Castro. You can approach the podium.
Hello, my name is Milton Castro. I'm in the chair of the Latino Soccer League. We are Latinos. We come at Des Moines. We stay here. Okay. I come in here because we had a problem about the cost for the rent, the soccer fields, and the stadiums, and very, very high the cost you provide.
Is that the district?
Okay. You have a high cost for rent the field. And you say the stadium is $525 for hours. We are a non-profit. We have children's, we have ladies, we have girls, we have high school. Everybody live in East Des Moines. They coming at the school in Des Moines. We think the school is for everybody, right? It's for the community. Okay, we think the athletic campus is for the same people, right? Okay, we need run West Des Moines because they have another prices. We rent the stadium, Valley, or another places. They cost $70, $80 for hour. We rent the indoor soccer in winter. We pay for the elementary. We pay $20 for hour. The middle school, we pay $40 for. They include the supervisor. And right here in Des Moines, we pay for the supervisor, and we pay for the high prices for the field. The fields in Lincoln, Roosevelt, and the new one in East School. Okay, this is why we come in here. We want to see you can consider the prices, because we don't want to go at Des Moines. We don't want to the all parents pay for everything. They pay for fuel, they pay for insurance because the school requires insurance. They pay for referees. This is the thing. The person, they work in gardens, they work in restaurant, they work in construction. It's very hard for pay this as high prices. This is why I come in here. We wanna know what you think about that one. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Becker? If you wouldn't mind following up, that would be great. Thank you.
Next speaker is Michaela.
Hello, I'm Michaela Nevins, and I am a sophomore at Virtual Campus, and I am a first year at Agriculture. our agriculture program, sorry. And I am very disappointed that our program's getting shutting down. As a first year, I was very excited for our vet program next year, because that would be amazing, because I want to be an equine vet when I'm older. And that would have been a great impact on me. And as someone who is going to virtual, I don't really get a lot of experience with talking to people and making friends. But thanks to our our agriculture program, I have been able to make new friends and also be hands-on learning with animals. Animals are a great program. Sorry.
Doing amazing. Keep going.
Sorry. It's just that this program means a lot to me and a lot of the first years that I really wanted to be here for our next year. Our program brings a lot of students together from different heritage and also from different school districts. As somebody who has problems speaking aloud to a lot of people, as you can tell, because I'm very nervous right now. But thanks to Mr. Anderson and all of the people and Miss Estel that I have worked with, thanks to this program, I've become better able to speak in front of people, somewhat. And also thanks to Mr. Anderson, I was able to come out of my comfort zone by competing in my first FFA competition this year, just a few weeks ago. So this program has really helped me speak and also make new friends and be with animals and learning about plant soils and plants themselves. To know that this is being shut down my first year has really impacted me, because I was really excited to be a part of another program and to be a part of FFA. Thank you.
Thank you.
You did a very nice job.
Next speaker is Joshua Remington.
Good evening. I am Joshua Remington, and I am president of the Polk County Farm Bureau Board of Directors. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak. And how would you like to follow that? I mean, really, these are great. And I know it's not appropriate, but I give you all a great round of applause because you've done a great job. I think they really have done. I know as a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior in high school, I would never have been able to get up in front of the school board and even say thank you versus approach on a controversial issue. So, but I also want to echo some of the thoughts. I think that there's some great opportunities that are happening, some great things that are happening, and some actually unique things that are happening only at the Central Campus location. For example, the Central Campus Ag program is one of 2 manners programs in the state of Iowa. One of 2. And for those that may not be familiar with manners, it's minorities in agriculture, natural resources, and related sciences. We do not want to lose that under any circumstance. We want to keep that. We want everybody to know that their food system, their leadership, their ability to thrive here in Iowa, we want to support them in those missions and opportunities. Furthermore, there's so many things that are just like this. When you approach people who you want to hire these kids, right? The kids that'll look you in the eye, the kids that'll shake your hands. They don't teach that in a lot of ag program or a lot of programs. They teach that in ag. They teach that in FFA. They teach that in some of these great programs. And I totally get that budgets are hard. Budget conversations are difficult. And I've never, ever attended any school board meeting or supervisor meeting or anything that doesn't come down to budgets being tough. And I respect those tough decisions you have to make. Yet I'm also asking, can we not throw the baby out with the bathwater? Can we do what every other business on the planet does and reinvigorate while moving forward, saying it may not be exactly what we want it to look like today, but let's keep going. Let's take a step today. Let's take another step. Let's set goals. Let's keep reaching for that. Rather than denying opportunities for an entire year, let's just keep reaching further. Let's keep setting those goals and setting those expectations, because I'll tell you, there's a lot of folks that believe in this. There's a lot of folks that think this matters. And I know that there's 11,000 Polk County Farm Bureau members that think that very thing. So please, please, please take a hard look at this. Take a moment to say, there's opportunity to keep the program and make some of the changes We'd very much love to be a part of that conversation and very much love your reconsideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Senator Tony Bisignano.
My name is Tony Bisignano. I live in Des Moines. And to put some content here, I'm here for the FFA. The reason is I've grown attached to the FFA, serving in the Senate a number of years and watching the different programs that come up there to visit. I've never been more impressed, and I'm not here just to say that because these kids that have come and taught me things that I didn't know. You know, the joke is FFA in Des Moines, get out of here, right? You're urban guys, you don't care. And then I heard their story. And after I heard their story, it's like I went around the chamber challenging other members on how well that their programs are going, because this is truly one of the most successful. But the thing that is probably the most unique is the diversity. And with Des Moines schools becoming more diverse, it's more needed because we're bringing people from countries that are farm countries, that are agriculturally driven. And granted, it's not, from what I read today, some of the discussion was as well, it's not addressing all people's needs. Yes, it is for these kids. It is addressing their needs. They have a real interest in agriculture. And in Des Moines, the south side that I represent, we have gardens. We all grew up with gardens. We all have that urban type feel of agriculture. But this is bigger than that. And when I met a young man from Roosevelt a couple of years ago, African American, headed Iowa State to be a veterinarian, that's phenomenal. This is the kind of thing that plants the seed. And I agree that if we disconnect, there are going to be interested today, gone tomorrow students, because they're going to find another group to associate with, some other club, some other activity. But I can say if there is one thing I think Des Moines needs more of is ag awareness. I was ranking member of agriculture, which became kind of a joke from Des Moines. He's a ranking member. I had an interest in agriculture when they gave that to me. And so FFA Day is really popular at the Capitol. What we do as senators and representatives is run around trying to find Des Moines on their back or Mount Pleasant or wherever, because we're looking for our own kids. And we get excited when they come up. This is a group that excites me. And I don't just drop in here every week or two. I haven't been here for 10 years. I ask that you rethink the disconnection. I understand some of the things I read is funding. I come from a place that's dominated by funding. But there are things that get cut that shouldn't, that long-term we regret. This is one of those that we only have these kids for 4 years. We only have them in high school 4 years. They don't have time to wait 2 more years. They want to stay steady. If they connect with Iowa State, they send their research to NASA. I mean, how much more do we need to be proud of what the Des Moines school system has done with FFA? So even my recommendation, as I read, don't even change the name. Because if you think, well, we're not into the agriculture in a component like out in rural Iowa. FFA is a definition of people. It says who you are, it says what you're into, and it's a group in this state. And to call them something different will take Des Moines and put us on the wall separately. And that's not what we want to keep doing, is highlighting Des Moines as separate or exclusive. Just make ours the best. That's all I ask. Make it the best. Give these students the opportunity to pursue what they love. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker is John Preston.
Good evening. My name is John Preston, and I'm the Future Ready coach over at Hoover High School. I'm here to express my concerns about the termination of the 6 Future Ready coaches in DMPS due to budget concerns. This position exists at all 5 comprehensive high schools and Central Campus, and we're in our 3rd and final year of supporting the class of 2025. For 2 years, DMPS has told our schools that when the Future Ready grant ends, we will continue the same work with the Gear Up 3.0 grant and support those students until they graduate in 2029. For 2 years, our team and schools understood that they would have a Future Ready coach in the building to help accomplish the grant objectives of helping our students engage in the critical work of exploring college and career options, as well as the important aspects of personal growth and development. In essence, we'd be there to help support and achieve the goals of the District Board Goal 3. Last Friday, our team was informed that the district had decided to terminate the positions of the 6 Future Ready coaches, use the yearly $350,000 grant to fund services for these students, and schools would simply offload the labor of supporting these students to current building staff. I ask you, who will be doing this work? Can you find a school counselor with extra time in their day? Our district counselors are amazing, but schools need additional supports. If school staff is already overwhelmed, who is going to be doing this work? According to the Iowa Department of Education, the 4-year graduation rate for the DMPS class of 2023 was 72.2%. We need boots on the ground. We need staff who can guide classrooms through our career and exploration software to discover their strengths, career interests, and potential future pathways. Who is going to be doing this work? Our team has been taking students on college and career visits for the last 3 years. Hoover took roughly 14 trips last year. Who's going to be doing this work? Who will promote the events? Who gathers permission slips? Who sends out reminders the day before? Who can miss 14 days in their building? Future Ready coaches this year are helping coordinate the district-wide trip to Build My Future. Hoover's taking 100+ students. Who will be planning, promoting, and coordinating? Right now, in partnership with the community school coordinators at Hoover, we're planning a career fair to help our students connect to local organizations, summer jobs, and network with potential future employers. Next year, who will be doing this work? It won't be our community school coordinators. Next year, CSCs will not be in one building, but spread across multiple schools in their feeder pattern. They're amazing assets in our buildings, but they cannot absorb the work, even if they weren't now spread across multiple buildings. I don't know how to distill my past 7 years of college and career exploration at Hoover High School into 3 minutes, but I would not have continued with this work if I was not positive we were helping students be more resilient, engaged, and successful. So my name's John Preston. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions about the work that we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Sylvia Poor.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Poor. I am from Des Moines, and I am a former FFA member. I was very distraught when I originally read the article about the removal of this program. I do not think it is a good idea. This program teaches students about every aspect of the processing of an animal. So that goes all the way from breeding to the actual processing of the animal. And there are many different breeds of animals that are taught while in this program. So you are not just solely focused on one breed that would be in these industries. It is also very important to note that we have they have breeding animals at this facility. I am very curious to know what is going to happen to these animals for the year. That is something I'm very concerned about as an animal scientist at Iowa State University. So that would be very concerning to me because I want to make sure that these animals' 5 freedoms are maintained at all times. These students learn multiple different skills while at this program. They learn how to take responsibility and do the job and work with others and have fantastic communication skills when managing the farm and communicating how to do and handle animals and farm chores. This is an incredible part of the program that really teaches people how to communicate with their peers and the people that they're going to work with in any job. So not just agriculture. I'm very concerned with the future of these students because a lot of them will not be able to receive certain degrees. In the FFA, there are multiple degrees that you get as you progress through the program that look very good on resumes and school applications. The discovery degree is when you figure out and learn about the FFA. The green hand degree is your first year. The chapter degree is your second year in the FFA, and your state is your third, and then you can go further and get the American degree. This would be something that these poor students would miss out on if you had to take 1 year of this away. It would be very unfair for them. It also takes away advancements in horticulture and agriculture when you think about it, because these are the new future Temple Grandins or Norman Borlaugs that you're preventing from being able to study or learn about their passions. It's very concerning to me. There's also a lot of things that I'm concerned about when it comes to, sorry, just lost my place. To competitions that they're going to be attempting to do. Some of these competitions take a lot of practice, and you can continue to do for multiple years, and this would be something that they would miss out on. These also look good on resumes and building up transcripts for colleges and things like that. This program is phenomenal in helping building up their students. Without it, I wouldn't be able to speak to you. Without it, I would not be able to go to college, really. Without it, I probably wouldn't be on the track to becoming a vet. And it's just incredibly concerning. So please reconsider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Representative Jason Gearhart.
So I'm State Representative Jason Gearhart. I'm from Strawberry Point, Iowa. And I don't really have a dog in this fight, but Representative Johnson over there was talking this morning about this issue, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart, so here we go. So I stand here before you today, not just as a state legislator, but as someone whose life was profoundly shaped by the FFA. For 4 years in high school, FFA wasn't just an extracurricular activity for me. It was my sport, it was my community, and the foundation of my leadership journey. Iowa's an agricultural state, but FFA is so much more than farming. It provides students with leadership opportunities, public speaking experience, teamwork skills, hands-on learning to prepare them for their future careers. Programs like the Washington Leadership Conference, district, state, national conventions and competitions, as well as FFA officer positions that equip students with confidence and skills that they need to be successful. The FFA plays a critical role in career development, offering real-world experiences in agriculture, business, mechanics, and science. It fosters agricultural advocacy, ensuring students become informed voices for one of Iowa's most vital industry. Through competitions, projects, and leadership roles, the FFA teaches responsibility, discipline, and personal growth, life lessons that extend far beyond the classroom. This year, 9 students from the Des Moines FFA program, and I looked this up online, so correct me if I'm wrong, competed at sub-district contests, with many advancing to districts and beyond. Last year, 4 of your students competed at the national level in Indianapolis, which is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to broaden their horizons. I was fortunate enough to be part of the FFA. I traveled all across the state and the country, ultimately earning my American FFA degree, as one of the gals pointed out earlier. So this is the highest award that the FFA can bestow on one of its members. I know firsthand the opportunities that this program provides. And I know you're contemplating tabling this program for a year to reimagine it. I would ask that you do that while keeping the current program in place. I believe that it's important for FFA to remain available to your students. If changes are needed, so be it. But dissolving the program, I don't believe is a solution. The future of the workforce, our agricultural industry, our next generation of leaders depends on it. Who knows what the future for these students here will hold. they could look back in 24 years like me and trade this coat in for one like this. So with that being said, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jamar Leon.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jamar Leon. I am the Vice President of Manners in my agri-science program. I am a senior at East, and I am a third year in the ad program. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. I would like to address the reasons we were given surrounding the pause in our program. Number one, current program limitations. We were told our program is primarily focused on FFA, plant sales, and animal husbandry, and that doesn't fully meet the needs of students. However, I would urge you to consider the impact these areas have made on me and my peers. As you've heard today from several of my peers, this program has shaped and changed our lives in ways words can hardly express. Number two, industry and workforce misalignment. Another point raised was the alleged misalignment between our program and the ag industry. In fact, through the school year, we have had the privilege of visiting multiple college ad programs, which offer invaluable insights into the higher level education. Our capstone class is titled Work-Based Learning, which places us into real world scenarios where we get hands-on experience in the ag industry as high school seniors. It is difficult for us to understand how this could be seen as a misalignment. And number three, lack of representation and inclusivity. I must say I found this difficult to accept. I invite you to spend a day at our facilities where you will see firsthand the diversity within our program. It stands as one of the most inclusive and diverse agriculture programs in our state, especially when compared to other programs. Lastly, we were told that resource allocations are being strained due to low enrollment and insufficient recruitment resources. What was not been acknowledged is the tireless effort put forth by student officers who have worked to recruit students from all of the high schools to make up for the lack of formal recruitment practices. The enrollment decline we are experiencing in large part is due to our first year class being capped at just 25 students, with seniors receiving priority over younger students. This is a key factor to our decline in enrollment and one that has not been fully addressed. When you ask most of our students what they think about these reasons, I believe that the overwhelming response would be that they lack credibility. In closing, I urge you to consider the points we've raised today. We hope that you make your decision not based on assumptions, but on clear understanding of the values this program has brought us and continues as others. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Carol Barth.
Hi, I'm Carol Barth, and I'm from Des Moines. I am a parent of a former FFA ag program. My daughter was very, very shy when she started the program, and she gained a lot of confidence being in the program. She will be in the fall starting Iowa State and going to the veterinarian school. She currently has a job as a kennel worker in a vet place, and I don't think she would have had that opportunity if she hadn't been in this program. I myself was a hands-on parent in this program. I have helped my daughter shear sheep. I have gained confidence in growing like tomatoes because of the horticulture part of it. And this program is very, very important to my daughter. She has done several competitions. She won the Star Award her first year. I've seen a few of these ladies grow as well. And this, I do believe it needs to be revamped, but don't take it away, even just for a year, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Trinity Barth.
Hi, my name is Trinity, and I'm from Des Moines. I spent 3 years in the DMPS agriculture program, and I'm a graduate of Penn Foster High School, which is an out-of-district online high school. But despite not attending a DMPS high school, I remain deeply dedicated to this program because of the incredible opportunities, knowledge, and growth that it gave me. Some of you may actually recognize me. I was here just last year, standing in this very spot, talking about how great the agri-science program is and sharing details about a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I had just last year. Like it was mentioned earlier, I went to Indianapolis to compete in the National FFA Veterinary Science CDE. Give me 1 second. I stood here as proof of what agricultural education can do for students, not just academically, but personally and professionally. And yet, here I am again, but this time I'm not here to celebrate the program, I'm here to fight for it. This program is so great that many people recognize it from all over the state. Multiple times, I've been in conversations with industry professionals, other ag educators, and state fair staff. And when they ask me what FFA chapter I'm from, I proudly say Des Moines FFA. And without fail, every single time, their response is, "Oh, so you're one of Kevin's kids. You're in a great program, kid. Don't take it for granted." This is the kind of impact that this program has. People know it, people respect it, and people see the difference that it makes in the lives of students like me. Because of this program, I've competed in countless agriculture and animal science competitions at the local, state, and national levels. Through these experiences, I've gained real-world skills that set me apart from my peers. I have over 1,300 hours of just hands-on animal experience and 200 hours of volunteer hours. Because of this program, I've built a stacked resume, one that has opened doors for me and made me stand out on a national level. I've been offered scholarships to some of the top schools in the country, including $80,000 from Tulane, which has only a 10% acceptance rate. These are opportunities that I would have never had without the foundation of this program. The decision to pause this program for an entire year is not just a change in the curriculum. It is a decision that risks setting back years of progress. Agriculture education is not something that can be put on hold. It is a fundamental part of our economy, our food system, and our future. And for students like me, it is a lifeline to opportunity. Before I entered the ag program, I was incredibly shy. I struggled to find my voice. I would have never imagined standing in front of a room like this, let alone twice. But because of this program, I found that confidence. I learned the importance of educating others about where their food comes from, how agriculture affects everyone, and why it matters. I got to share my experience of what it was like raising livestock as a city kid. Because of this program, I have fought to bridge the gap between agriculture and urban communities, to erase the stereotypes that have been dividing us for far too long. And now, with one decision, all of that work is at risk of being undone. Ag education is more than just an academic subject. It is an essential link between the students of Des Moines and the industry that feeds them, clothes them, and fuels their future. Our state is built on agriculture, and yet many urban students grow up completely disconnected from it. This program has changed that. It has provided hands-on experience, leadership opportunities, and a pathway to careers that students, especially in a city environment, may have never considered. By pausing the program for a year, you are not just delaying education. You are closing doors. You are taking away experiences that shape futures, scholarships that open new paths, and a sense of purpose that students like me have found through this program. A pause does not just mean a temporary hold. It means lost momentum, lost student interest, and a program that may never fully recover. And let's be honest, a pause often turns into something bigger. After something is taken away, it is far too easy to say, well, maybe we don't need it at all. And I refuse to let that happen. The reason this program has declining enrollment is not because of the curriculum. It is because of the district not advertising this opportunity to its students. In my first year in the program, Mr. Anderson gathered all of the first-year students and said, "Raise your hand if you have never heard of this program before you've applied for it." And over half of the class just raised their hands. I personally only heard about this program because I talked to a state FFA officer at the state fair when I was in 7th grade, and she recommended that I apply when I got to high school, and I was so excited for that opportunity. Des Moines needs agricultural education. Students need agriculture education. You may be thinking, the pause is only for 1 year, right? Students can just join the following year if it's paused. However, I know many students who didn't join the program until their junior or senior year instead of their sophomore year. By pausing this program for even one school year, students are missing out on a huge opportunity that many students in other areas would die for. Think about the future veterinarians, the scientists, the conservationists, the leaders who will never get their start because this program was put on hold for even just 1 year. Think about what you are taking away. Instead of pausing the program, let's work together. Let students, educators, and industry professionals have a seat at the table in redesigning the curriculum over a summer or two, not during the school year, not pausing it, right? Allow us to evolve while keeping the program alive. Give students a voice, because I promise you, no one understands the impact of this program more than we do. I ask you, do not take that away from us. Do not take away something that has changed lives, including mine. Do not put agricultural education on a hold, because agriculture is not something that can wait. Thank you.
Thank you. And last speaker is Christina Estes.
Thank you for your time this evening. I appreciate it. My name is Christina Estes, and I am a Future Ready coach under the Future Ready grant at Roosevelt High School. And as Mr. Preston spoke before me about this, you know, there's 6 of us all together. So we support a lot of students. We help and assist students in their dreams for after high school. So, and I personally have found this position to be really rewarding, and I am grateful to have played a part in creating a future for so many students. But we are losing our positions for next year. It goes into the Gear Up 3.0 grant, and we have been told that we will not have our positions for next year, which is supporting freshmen. So the really amazing thing is that we would have followed those freshmen all the way through their senior years. So every year, the areas we could have supported them would have been academic support, advising, which entails numerous things when it comes to students, as many of you know. College and career services, which is information on it, FAFSA, taking them on trips. Also family knowledge and engagement, which is really huge, especially for those students that are first generation. And also skills-based learning. So this would have been support for them all through high school, their high school journey. And now, as Mr. Preston stated, who is going to be able to do this? Our counselors, you know, a lot of it may fall back on them. And so they have a tremendous job, as many of you are aware. And all of us see on a daily basis how much our counselors do. So it includes, you know, scheduling classes, but also helping students navigate that emotional roller coaster of growing up and their developing brain, which is also influenced by their personal lives. These are only a few of the things that our counselors do. So when you think about it, how many of you decided on your career based on a life experience? So we have been able to give reality to these students and their dreams. We're able to take them to see a campus, many of them for the first time. I have seen kids so excited after a campus visit, and they're like, this is it. This is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. And at the time, they had no clue about any of it, because especially for kids that didn't have family members that went, this is their first experience. They were able to talk to college students, hear their stories, talk to professors, professionals, and their peers. They've also, it's not just college that we help them with, so we've helped take them to skilled trades, and they've talked to them, many of them signing up for apprenticeships. I myself am a first-generation college graduate. My parents didn't understand anything about the college or what it takes to accomplish my dreams. So I think about if I had had that support since I was a freshman all through high school, at this point, I could have landed on the moon. I could have been a flight nurse. I could have discovered a new organism at the bottom of the ocean, become governor. Maybe that might still happen. All these things I could have been if I had had support. So can you imagine if our ninth graders have the support all through high school? It takes a community. It takes many voices saying, you can do this. You are amazing. Dream those dreams. This is how, these are the steps. I will walk with you and your family. This takes time, which those who have numerous responsibilities already are saying to themselves, how can we possibly do this? The Garrett positions that are being lost would play an integral part in the community of our Des Moines Public Schools. We believe in our children's dreams and making them a reality. We would like the chance for reconsideration and allow us to be able to walk with these kids 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, those are all the speakers I have signed up. I don't believe.
Dr. Roberts, do we have any district recognitions?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do. Good evening, everyone. As we continue to bring forward recognitions at school board meetings where we celebrate the successes and accomplishments of students and staff throughout Des Moines Public Schools, tonight I have examples that I am truly excited to share. I'm pleased to share these recognitions of work of our staff and students, both in the classroom as well as what happens in the community. Each year, the Business Record announces the 40 under 40 list. This is the list of up-and-coming leaders in our community who, according to the paper, demonstrate impressive career achievements and unparalleled community involvement. As a matter of fact, this marks the 26th year of the list, bringing the total number of 40 under 40 honorees to over 1,000 people in our community. And this year, it's an honor that one of our very own DMPS teammates is on the list. I'm pleased to share that Kaylee Becker, our Chief of Staff for Philanthropic Engagement, is one of those recognized in the 2025 40 under 40 list. Kaylee was nominated for this recognition by board member John Knox, who also chairs our Des Moines Public Schools Foundation. In her time since joining the DMPS, Kaylee has worked closely with the foundation, including on the recent successful dinner that we've had. But more importantly, day in and day out, Kaylee has been building support for some of our important work among allies and funders to the community, really aligning with our priority number 5 in our strategic plan, where she is spearheading the work, helping us all to do more to support all the children we serve. I want to personally congratulate Kaylee publicly for this well-deserved honor and thank Board Member Jenna Knox for your support in highlighting our outstanding staff. I don't want to put, yes I do, I will put Kaylee in the spot and ask her to come up and share a little bit about this recognition and some of the things with some brevity that she's been working on lately. So Kaylee, please take that slow, deliberate walk to the podium and share a little bit about what you have been working on and express with the community a little bit about how this honor has impacted you.
Are we supposed to know recognition? I didn't realize I was being recognized, but thank you. Thank you, Jenna, for nominating me. Thank you for the school board members that wrote letters. I read them and they were amazing. And I just appreciate all of the community members and leaders that continue to believe in me. And especially thank you to Dr. Roberts for assisting me in growing and being the best I can for our students and staff and community. So thank you all for the recognition. I really appreciate it. And I'm really honored to be chosen this year.
Can I just take a moment and add something? Just for some context for those in the room, Kaylee's
role is new, although it was a vision of Terry Caldwell Johnson's for many years to have someone who has really had an eye on philanthropic engagement for our district. As we know, when the budget comes from the state, that's what we have to spend, but philanthropy can fill holes for us. And we have seen an outpouring of support, and she's really taken on a huge job of trying to organize it and maximize the impact so that we don't have to have, or maybe we can have less tough budget conversations down the road. So Kaylee, thank you, because the path forward, philanthropy has to be a part of the conversation for our public schools, unfortunately, but also fortunately, we have a great person leading that work. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Roberts, any other district recognitions?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you for indulging this. Also this evening, while they will not be able to join us, and they will probably get here at the next board meeting in person, I want to give our congratulations to the Lincoln Rails girls bowling team on being the runner-up in this recent state tournament. The team also featured 2 individual medalists who earned 3rd and 5th place finishes. And the Lincoln boys team also had a really strong season, ending up 5th at the state tournament, 5th in the state. Last year, of course, we celebrated East High School being home to the state girls champion. This year, we are celebrating outstanding bowlers from Lincoln High School. I am really proud of our student athletes who are competing and succeeding in this sport. And it just tells me that if ever I decide to select a weekend to go bowling, I know exactly where to go to have my teammates at one of our amazing high schools. And I'm not a good bowler, so Lincoln, East, and other high schools in the Mount Public Schools, look out for that phone call. Madam Chair, that concludes this evening's recognition.
Thank you. I'm going to recommend we take just a brief pause. I know for those of you that may want to learn more, talk more, Tasha Brown's going to make herself available in the hallway. Otherwise, we'll keep going with the agenda and move on to consent items. So thank you very much. I think we all want to make sure we say thank you so much for everybody that came and spoke. We really appreciated your voices, and I'm so impressed at how poised and well-spoken all of you were this evening. So thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, certainly want to echo your sentiment and say I am incredibly proud of our students who are currently enrolled and those who have graduated who spoke this evening. I have tremendous gratitude to our state representative and state senators who also spoke about the program. In addition to the conversation that Tasha Brown will have with them, Madam Chair, I am going to offer myself up for continued conversations so I can hear from the voices of our students. So students, we thank you.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair.
We are now going to move to the consent agenda items. As a reminder to the board and public, the board will not engage in discussion or deliberation with a speaker regarding comments made to agenda items. Discussion and deliberation will remain among board members at the board table with speakers' comments informing the board's discussion, deliberation, and determinations as deemed necessary. Ms. Rios, do we have any speakers?
No speakers for consent.
Dr. Mayberry Mays, I believe you have the consent motion.
I do. You all can stay. We're still having fun. Thank you for being here. I move that the board approve the consent items in accordance with the recommended action for each item on the consent agenda, including bills previously authorized, certified, and approved for payment by the board secretary in the amount of $4,096,403.06.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Mayberry Mays and a second by Ms. Martirano. Board members, any discussion or questions? Please cast your votes. The consent agenda is approved 7-0. Now we move to public hearings. First item is E1, public hearing for FY25 downtown school calendar. The public hearing will come to order. Is there anyone wishing to speak to this item? Hearing none, I will turn it over to Superintendent Roberts. Please introduce the matter.
Thank you, Madam Chair, most certainly. I recommend the board review the revised FY 25-26 downtown school calendar, hold a public hearing, and approve this calendar.
May I have a motion and a second?
Martirano, so moved.
Dick, second.
We have a motion by Ms. Martirano and a second by Mr. Dix. Any discussion or questions? Board members, please cast your votes. The vote is approved 7-0. Next item is E2, public hearing for CIP 3505 Jackson Elementary School parking lot addition. The public hearing will come to order. Is there anyone wishing to speak to this item? Hearing none, I will turn it over to Dr. Roberts to introduce the matter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I recommend the board review the proposed plans and specifications prepared by Bishop Engineering for parking lot additions at Jackson Elementary, hold a public hearing, and approve the plans.
May I have a motion and a second to approve this item?
Martirano, so moved.
Dix, second.
We have a motion by Ms. Martirano and a second by Mr. Dix. Is there any discussion or questions? Board members, please cast your votes. The vote is approved 7-0. Next item on the agenda is E3, public hearing for CIP 3506 Garden Elementary School parking lot addition. The public hearing will come to order. Is there anyone wishing to speak to this item? Hearing no one, I'm closed the public hearing. Superintendent Roberts, would you please introduce the matter?
Certainly, Madam Chair. I recommend the board review the proposed plans and specifications prepared by Bishop Engineering for parking lot additions at Garden Elementary School, hold a public hearing, and approve the plans.
May I have a motion and a second to approve this item?
Martirano, so moved.
Dix, second.
We have a motion by Ms. Martirano and a second by Mr. Dix. Is there any discussion or questions? Board members, please cast your votes. The vote is approved 7-0. Next item is E4, public hearing CIP 3504, Lincoln High School classroom and office remodel. The public hearing will come to order. Is there anyone wishing to speak to this item? Hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Dr. Roberts, please introduce the matter.
Yes, Madam Chair. I recommend the board review the proposed plans and specifications prepared by BBS architects and engineers for classroom and nurses' office renovations at Lincoln High School, hold a public hearing, and approve the plans.
May I have a motion and a second to approve this item?
Mayberry Mays move.
Alonso, second.
It's a battle. I believe we have a motion by Dr. Mayberry Mays and a second by Ms. Alonso. Any discussion, questions? Board members, please cast your votes. The vote is approved 7-0. We move next to other. The first item is a personnel recommendation for Dr. Roberts to present to the board chair. Dr. Roberts?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I ask that Rosie Rios, in my absence, physically presented. I recommend that the board receive, file, and approve the termination of the contracts for reasons stated forth in the superintendent's notices.
May I have a motion and a second to approve this item?
Martirano, so moved.
Campos, second.
We have a motion by Ms. Martirano and a second by Ms. Campos. Is there any discussion or questions? Board members, please cast your votes. The vote is approved 7-0. Next, we turn it over to Dr. Roberts, who will present to us on the district-wide cell phone policy and guidance update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Certainly much appreciated. And good evening, everyone. Several months ago, we started our public discussion and engagements around the impact of cell phones in our classrooms. We talked about the fact that one of our schools, Hoover High School, and their leadership team, teachers and staff, took the initiative to embark upon a journey where they prioritized not just necessarily the removal of cell phones for the purpose of denying students access to their phones, but they couched the importance of reducing access to cell phones during the instructional time of the instructional day to the impact that those devices are having on student mental health. Since those conversations started several months ago, the board and our district leadership team engaged in several conversations and had some really healthy discussions around ensuring that we not only consider the kind of impact that Hoover High School's pilot will have at the conclusion of an evaluation period of 1 year, but to use that data to inform how we intend to move forward with a possible district-wide policy. Since then, we have concluded evaluation with our data and assessment team. We've unpacked and analyzed the data. And certainly, there are some very compelling points that are grounded in research and certainly grounded in some quantitative and qualitative data that informed the decision we have now made to move forward with a district-wide cell phone policy or guidance. At Des Moines Public Schools, we are really committed to fostering an inclusive and supportive learning environment that truly empowers all of our students to sort of achieve their full potential. We recognize that cell phones and personal devices are an integral part not only of our students' lives, but of the lives of the adults who serve them. Each of us has a cell phone. We also know that our students utilize these devices as tools for communication, learning, and equally as important, for personal expression. Our goal, board and community, in moving towards a district-wide cell phone policy is to implement such a policy or guidance that respects these needs that our students have, while minimizing and ultimately even eliminating distractions to our instructional program, supporting and valuing the mental health of our students, and more importantly, enhancing educational outcomes. As a result of the evaluation over 1 year, and based on the last 2 months or so, where we have convened a number of our school district leaders, teachers and staff's perspective on what will it take for us to implement a district-wide policy that scans grades pre-K through 12, but also being thoughtful about one that is differentiated. Because we recognize that developmentally, students based on where they are in terms of their age or grade level band may have very different needs. And so the policy that is up for public consumption in a draft form will really apply to all campuses and students within the Des Moines Public Schools. And that includes, as I mentioned, the preschool, elementary, middle, and high schools. Because we are committed to ensuring developmentally appropriate access to technology, the policy will be differentiated by 3 grade level bands. High schools, which will serve buildings of grades 9 through 12, middle schools, serving buildings of grades 6 through 8, and elementary schools, which will serve buildings in grades pre-K through 5, and in some instances next year, because of a pilot we are expounding upon, pre-K through 6. In situations where some of our campuses serve more than 1 grade level band, building principals will be supported by district leaders and encouraged to create sort of differentiated policies as necessary. I want to share sort of at a high level what should be expected as a result of the policy that will go into effect for school year 25-26. And my team and I intend to bring this to the board for your additional review, reactions, and certainly approval at our next board meeting in April. All high school principals, including leaders of specialized campuses within the district, will be expected to implement this cell phone-free policy during class time. Individual campuses may choose to allow the use of cell phones during class time if they are directly integrated into the curriculum and used for the purpose of teaching and learning. We recognize that there are many instances where teachers can skillfully integrate the use of technology, including cell phones and other smart devices, into teaching and learning as they deliver strong pedagogical practices. Principals may also allow teachers to permit cell phone use in the classroom solely not only for educational purposes, but also to consider utilizing it for things such as research, digital assignments, or interactive learning activities. We wanted to highlight in this policy that preference should be given for these activities to occur on a district-provided laptop device. And when not able to do so, or if there is an additional benefit to utilize a smart device, then certainly teachers should be allowed to use their discretion to do so. I know one of the conversation points that we have entertained from parents, community members, students, and others is what happens in cases of emergency. Well, in emergency situations, they will be addressed on a case-by-case basis with the direction of teachers and administrators. Students, remember, ultimately, our goal is not for this policy to be punitive, but we certainly want to make sure that we are making a decision to improve the quality of education experiences you're having, but more importantly, to make sure that there is a healthy balance of how you are engaging and utilizing screen time. We have seen the compelling research that says it is not healthy for you, it's certainly not healthy for any human being, but our primary responsibility this time is to protect each and every one of you during and out of school. Finally, I want to share that our intention with this policy is not necessarily to prohibit or ban, but we are anchoring our policy in a commitment to guide and support, and to guide and support responsible use of technology within all our schools. Students, again, I want to reiterate that we truly understand that these cell phones are a significant part of your lives, and we aim to respect that reality. And even as we respect that reality, we are going to do so while really prioritizing environments within grades pre-K through 12 that are really conducive to learning. Let me overemphasize your mental health, your ability to regulate emotionally, and certainly the opportunity for you to be engaged in the strong pedagogical practices that all our teachers are delivering are all tenets in which we are anchoring this program. We appreciate the cooperation of all of our students, our families, and our staff as we move forward to bring this to the board at our April meeting to implement this policy. And remember, we are always here to support 100% of our students and parents. Between today's meeting and our next board meeting, please feel free to reach out to my office or individual schools if you have questions, inputs, or additions that you want us to consider in our upcoming school year 25-26 cell phone guidance. Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation. I am certainly open to entertaining any conversations or questions.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Roberts. I think, board members, what would be helpful is we'll do a round of clarifying questions. And so if there's something that you want to clarify or ask, let's start with clarifying questions. And then we'll go from there. One point I just want to ask Dr. Roberts, even though the cell phone legislation with the state is not confirmed, that is the reason why the board would approve the policy, correct? I think that's part of the potential law.
Yes, Madam Chair, you're absolutely correct. But what I will share is that we have certainly worked collaboratively with many of our legislators, including the governor's office, and having looked at the proposed language in that state law, we have the utmost confidence that we will be aligned with what is expected, and it's primarily grounded in this commitment to reducing disruptions to instructional time.
Great, thank you. Okay, clarifying questions. Any questions?
You spoke about supports, and I see that you've identified in this document that you've shared with us that district level support will be offered to buildings. Will you speak to what that looks like, Dr. Roberts, from now until the time of implementation and then post-implementation? What do you mean by supports?
Kim, where is that in the policy?
It is referenced, Madam Chair, specifically in the areas when it comes to enforcement and compliance.
Thank you. Dr. Roberts, go ahead.
Thank you, Board Member Matarano. I really appreciate that question. My response is twofold. The first is whenever we are going to implement any district-wide policy, I think it's prudent for us to be really thoughtful about ensuring that every single teammate who such a policy will impact, particularly those who are expected to implement, and we're using words in this case such as enforce, is not left on their own. So the district level support that we are speaking about includes training, includes a thoughtful socializing of the policy to every single teammate, and giving them an opportunity to reach out to us with any feedback that will be helpful to them during the upcoming and subsequent school years. And secondly, one serious consideration of ours is what kind of pivots will school personnel have to make in terms of the amount of time that they may have to allocate or allot to supporting students and enforcing this policy. And so we will remain open to receiving feedback around whether or not we need to consider resource allocation. The resource allocation that I am referencing will include either personnel or other resources that may be helpful to the success of this program and policy.
Thank you. And can you speak with a little bit more detail regarding the training that will be administered or available?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I don't want to minimize the importance of this training by suggesting that it's not going to be sophisticated, but it's essentially going to build on some of the kind of training that our teammates are already exposed to, right? And that includes one, looking at our tenets, for example, around SEL. One of those 5 tenets of social emotional learning is really grounded in so much of what we do in self-regulation. A second tenet is around responsible decision making. And so we want to make sure that when we think about the adult SEL, that we are offering the kind of training that may be related directly to cell phone use around responsible decision making for students and how adults can navigate those spaces so that those interactions do not become combative or cantankerous. And then certainly around self-regulation, wanted to make sure that we are exposing, again, our adults to even more training so that when they're engaging with students, they're engaging with them from a supportive standpoint and less of an enforcement standpoint. Additionally, when I think about cell phone use, I generally want to make a connection to the cell phone policy to some of what we're enforcing right now with our I Love You Guys safety protocol. And we right now are being thoughtful about what connections are there as we come back in the summer to offer training around safety with all of our teachers and building staff who have to enforce policy.
Maybe I'll just ask a follow-up to that. One of the early pushbacks I believe we heard was around staffing to support the execution of the policy so that it would not fall on the teacher's responsibility. If we're trying to put this into effect starting in August, how have school buildings been asked to factor in the support they need to execute this on day one effectively?
Thank you. Yes, Madam Chair. And the feedback that we have gotten thus far is that many schools have what they call radio teams, and their radio teams, based on their current staffing model, are in place, and there's not necessarily a need at this time. It doesn't mean that it will not change, but there is not a need at this time for any additional personnel to support those radio teams. And certainly, though, we are going to continue to remain open to the possibility of having to add additional supports.
Great, thank you. Mr. Dix?
Dr. Roberts, just curiosity, I don't see anywhere in the policy about the adult staff members, team members at DMPS. Was there any discussion, or is there going to be any discussion of sort of practicing what we preach here and making sure that during instructional time, particularly, that the adults are also not on their cell phones?
Thank you, Board Member Dix. And I really appreciate that. And certainly, we want to be able to model what are good habits and practices for our students. The policy at this time is a student-centered policy. I have the utmost confidence in the adults in our buildings because they too are being exposed to our tenets of social emotional learning. I truly believe that our adults have the ability and the professional maturity to self-regulate. Certainly don't want to put a policy in place at this time to minimize how our adults are utilizing their devices. Our adults, again, are consummate professionals, and I'm committed to ensuring that we treat them as such.
Other questions?
Dr. Roberts, I'm hoping you can provide some clarity on the acceptable use of high schools in comparison to the middle schools. For acceptable use for high school, what I'm reading is that it would be primarily used, intended for educational purposes as an acceptable use. And then as I go down to middle schools, I see that one of the acceptable uses could be in the case of designated breaks, such as lunch or during passing periods. Could you help me understand the rationale behind having designated breaks added for the middle schools as acceptable use for cell phone usage?
Thank you, Dr. Mayor Ramirez. Yes, one of the considerations that we give to the differentiation between two grade level bands is the pilots that are currently in place. And so we have, for example, one middle school pilot where students are not allowed to use their cell phones at all from bell to bell. And so we wanted to find a healthy balance where some of our middle schools actually thought that it would sort of add value to student experiences if there is some differentiation by allowing students to have designated breaks with their devices. I think ultimately, we want this policy to be a living policy and to be nimble enough to make adjustments based on the first quarter or first 6 months of the school year. The final consideration is the fact that as we think about an age-appropriate policy, we are certainly making the case that our high school students have a different level of maturity based on where they are developmentally. And so we wanted to have that distinction.
Can I just ask, Doctor, so are you saying that as it's written, because I need clarification, it's not allowed in middle school?
Reverse.
Oh,
Middle school are allowed to use it during breaks.
Yes, middle school allowed, high school not.
High schools, I'll double check and we will make that correction. High schools are also allowed to use it during breaks.
yeah. You're saying both are allowed to use it during?
Both are allowed to use it during breaks. But again, we're likely to see some differentiation in terms of the frequency with which this happens.
So actually, that's a follow-up comment I think that I want to play off of. When I think about all the conversations we've had about curriculum, everything that's been said is we try and make it easy for a kid who goes from school to school to school. And that's why there's all this pacing and all of the things that are asked. And I struggle because at the same time, each experience that a student is going to have at a different school is going to be different. And I understand that each school is a little bit different, but not having a consistent policy is a real struggle for me. DMPS historically has struggled with consistency across the organization. And so I would just say I have some pretty strong feelings about not having a consistent practice across the district.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me offer clarification again, building on the question that Dr. Mayberry asked. High schools, in terms of acceptable use, will have opportunities to use their phone during non-instructional time. Middle schools will have a bell-to-bell restriction on cell phones. So cell phones will be kept in their lockers, backpacks, or other designated areas throughout the entire day. And there's some flexibility that we're thinking about. We're on a case-by-case basis. Students may be allowed to access their cell phone during designated breaks. But for the most part, we are seriously considering a bell-to-bell policy for middle schools. So we will make the necessary corrections in the draft policy.
And I think just my only follow-up would be the same thing with the way that phones are taken and handled. The consistency by grade has to be the same also. So elementary school, middle school, high school. I know that there's a concern about accessing parents or guardians, but the same thing should happen at every building level. So there's uniformity in experience for the student, for the staff, for the family as well. So I'd appreciate you considering that as well.
And I guess, Dr. Roberts, to follow up with that, I'd offer up just by way of consideration to tighten up the policy a little bit, talking about some of these exceptions as extraordinary exceptions. The rule is no cell phones. Under some kind of an extraordinary exception, you might be able to allow one. As it's written, just from a first reading, it feels very much like, it's up to the school leader. And I don't think that was the intent. And so I think maybe tightening up the language a little bit to really emphasize that this, the base policy is bell to bell. And I don't even know if there's an opportunity to say that there could be some kind of you don't want to make it too complicated, but a petitioning, or you have to ask and come up with a good reason that this is going to benefit students. Because the research we're seeing more and more is that there is no benefit, and there may be a negative effect to having electronics used in the classroom for student outcomes. And so I think I would be in favor of tightening up the language to really emphasize what I think you intend in this policy is that bell to bell in elementary and junior high, and then more flexibility in high school on the Hoover model?
That is absolutely correct. Certainly, Board Member Dixon, we, because of our draft status, will certainly make sure that we have a refined policy for the board's approval.
Ms. Alonso, Ms. Campos, Ms. Knox?
Dr. Roberts, do we know, or can you tell us when this policy will be shared with families, or how soon we plan to provide this to everyone?
Thank you, Board Member Alonso. Yes, as soon as the board approves the policy, the communications team and I will talk about a cascade of communication. And so I would probably offer that within at least 30 days of the board's approval of the policy, we will cascade this out to all of our stakeholders, including students and families.
Ms. Alonso, I think are you referring also to the effective way that Hoover did it? And so just maybe say a few things about that. So as we think about communications, what you thought was really good about the Hoover communications.
I think that overall my concern is that the district at times does things, and we have not historically done a great job of informing families on a timely manner. And the cell phone policy, I think a lot of parents have been waiting for it, maybe requesting it, expecting it. And I don't know that we have the best method of communicating or sharing that information with families and what that would entail. When I look at the student communication, the building policy must include the appropriate method of communication between parent, guardians, and students during class time. And then you have parent, guardian may contact the office to connect with students during class time. I'm trying to picture an office and a person during class at the office getting calls from families, and families perhaps not being able to communicate effectively because we might not have the person at the office who might be able to effectively communicate back with parents. And so I'm wondering about how we communicate the policy to families and what we have in place for families to be able to interact effectively with whoever it is at each building that will be taking, sorting, navigating these calls.
Thank you, Board Member Alonso. So I'm hearing two things. One, I'm hearing concerns around implementation, particularly at the school level. How are we going to operationalize the plan? And I'm also hearing about our maybe gaps that exist in how we communicate with our families in general, and we certainly have a plan to address both. At the school level, when I think about who will be designated as someone who will respond to parents, that is certainly something that our school and building leaders will have the responsibility of and authority to do. In terms of the communication around the approved cell phone guidance and policy, once the board approves that, I have the utmost confidence that my team and I will have a really solid cascade of communication to socialize this to all of our families and students within 30 days or so of the board's approval.
Other comments or questions? I think the only last thing I'd love for you to consider, Dr. Roberts, is I think part of the reason we're here is because parents, schools, family members didn't do a great job actually working with their children on digital literacy and media literacy. And so to the degree that you're thinking about that, whether it's integrated with SEL or somehow making sure that we're actually educating our young people on how to use their phone, because I think it's unfair to expect that anybody might have had that conversation with them. So I know there's not a formal curriculum, but I just feel like that will help them be more effective citizens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. Let me just offer that we are certainly aligned with the thinking of the board around digital literacy and the vision that we have as it aligns to one of our priorities in our strategic plan. Priority one, that is our Chief Information Officer actually is currently looking at to fill a position for a Director of IT that will work very closely with classroom teachers and school leaders. And so we certainly are looking forward to improving how we offer digital literacy. So thank you for that prompt.
Great, thank you.
I'd just add one last thing, and that is thank you to you, Dr. Roberts, and to the entire staff, the teachers who worked on this, the principals who gave their input. This has not been an easy or obvious solution. I think it was to some people, and the education helped, the complexity of the situation helped. It helped to hear different perspectives and to take a minute to put this together. So appreciate the thoughtful approach and coming to a strong policy that we can build on to get better results in the classroom.
Great. With that, Dr. Roberts, we are going to move quickly to F3. If you think you have enough time to do a brief Stakeholder Improvement Advisory Committee update. And board
Yes.
members, the way this came about, just so you know, was that I think for those of us that have been on the board for longer, the impression was that there was a SIAC in each school building, and that's different. And so I asked Dr. Roberts to provide an update so we and the public as well could be clear on how voices are coming into the superintendent and board and leadership.
Yes, Madam Chair. And so my teammate who is leading this work and serves as a point is out ill. But what I'll share with you is that, when we, in October of 2024, we reconvened the SIAC, or the School Improvement Advisory Committee, and our focus was on galvanizing a lot of community voices. And so we have a number of stakeholders that included students and a number of community members who not only convene but continue to connect to offer really strong input. So it's our School Improvement Advisory Committee is twofold. One is where we have the overall district School Improvement Advisory Committee that looks at really mission critical plans, that looks at what are some of those key areas where we need to work on as a collective body, valuing the beliefs, desires, and asks of community members. And for this committee to serve as a voice to represent all of our stakeholders, to provide a superintendent and board with input, advice, and guidance on some of these critical areas. The second part of our School Improvement Advisory Committee is where individual schools are utilizing their own PTA to do some of this work. Some of the work that we've done thus far with these convenings included, in October, we looked at how are we looking at federal programs, an overview of those programs, looking at Titles 1, 2, and 4 plans. How can we improve our bullying prevention plan as a district? In January, we looked at, of course, our strategic plan, the reimagined education work, and then some additional work around school performance profiles. So we continue to refine what this committee looks like and looks at. And so happy to answer additional questions offline, or take additional questions right now and get it back to the committee that is leading this work.
I think the only question I have is the board is supposed to get on an annual basis some type of report or feedback from SIAC, and whether that's in writing or they come and talk for a little bit, but somehow I think that's actually state law, which is, so I just want to make sure we understand that and think through the best way to do that.
Yes, we will be prepared to furnish the board with the report at least once a year. Absolutely, the team is poised to do that.
Any other questions? Okay. With that, we are going to move. We are, as we talked about, not doing the Reimagining Education update, so that has been moved to a work session next week. And now we move to items of privilege. So board members, would you like to share anything?
I would like to share a statement on behalf of the board, and upon completion, Maria will also be sharing the statement in Spanish. So thank you for the opportunity, Madam Chair. As the largest and most diverse school district in Iowa, Des Moines Public Schools remains unwavering in our commitment to fostering a welcoming, respectful, and accepting environment for every student, every staff member, and every family who walks through our doors. Public schools serve all students, and we recognize that families come in many forms. In our classrooms, we strive to honor and reflect the relationships and support systems our students have at home. Every child deserves to feel seen, valued, and safe, because when they do, they learn better, they grow stronger, and they reach their full potential. We are proud of the ways our community has come together to show support for one another. Just this last week, members of one of our elementary schools, shout out to Oak Park Elementary School, stood along the street holding signs of love and kindness. This was a simple yet powerful reminder that in DMPS, we stand for dignity and belonging. Our commitment extends beyond the classroom. As we continue reimagining education, we must also reimagine our facilities to ensure that we meet the needs of all students and staff. This includes increasing access to necessary spaces that affirm the dignity and safety of every individual in our buildings. Most importantly, let us be clear, as a board, DMPS will not be removing protections from our own non-discrimination policies. Our anti-bullying and anti-harassment policies remain firmly in place for both students and staff. We know that many of our employees and students are feeling fear and uncertainty in this moment, and we want them to hear this directly from us. You are seen, you are valued, and you are protected in our schools. As a board, we will continue to ensure that DMPS is a place where every person, regardless of their background, individuality, or lived experience, feels safe, respected, and empowered to thrive. Thank you, and I turn over to Ms. Alonso.
Thank you, Ms. Martorano. Como el distrito escolar más grande y diverso de Iowa, las escuelas públicas de Des Moines, DMPS por sus siglas en inglés, se mantienen firmes en nuestro compromiso de fomentar un entorno acogedor, inclusivo y afirmativo para cada estudiante, cada miembro del personal y cada familia que ingresa por nuestras puertas. Las escuelas públicas atienden a todos los estudiantes y reconocemos que las familias se presentan de muchas formas. En nuestras aulas nos esforzamos por honrar y reflejar las diversas relaciones y sistemas de apoyo que nuestros estudiantes tienen en casa. Todos los niños merecen sentirse vistos, valorados y seguros, porque cuando lo hacen, aprenden mejor, se fortalecen y alcanzan su máximo potencial. Estamos orgullosos de las formas en que nuestra comunidad se ha unido para mostrar apoyo mutuo. La semana pasada, los miembros de una de nuestras escuelas primarias, Oak Park, se pararon a lo largo de la calle sosteniendo carteles de amor, amabilidad y afirmación. Este fue un recordatorio simple, pero poderoso, de que en DMPS defendemos la dignidad y la pertenencia. Nuestro compromiso se extiende más allá del aula. A medida de que continuamos reimaginando la educación, también debemos reimaginar nuestras instalaciones para garantizar que satisfagan las necesidades de todos los estudiantes y el personal. Esto incluye aumentar el acceso a los espacios necesarios que afirman la dignidad y la seguridad de cada individuo en nuestros edificios. Lo más importante es que seamos claros. DMPS no eliminará las protecciones de nuestras propias políticas de no discriminación. Nuestras políticas contra el acoso y la intimidación siguen firmemente vigentes tanto para los estudiantes como para el personal. Sabemos que muchos de nuestros empleados y estudiantes sienten miedo e incertidumbre en este momento y queremos que lo escuchen directamente de nosotros. En nuestras escuelas los vemos, los valoramos y los protegemos. Como junta, seguiremos garantizando que DMPS sea un lugar donde todas las personas, independientemente de sus antecedentes, identidad o experiencia vivida, se sientan seguras, respetadas y empoderadas para prosperar. Gracias.
I also want to apologize to my board colleagues. This was the first thing we were supposed to do. It is the most important thing we were supposed to do. And nobody hit me over the head to tell me I had not done it. So please know that this was my mistake. We were supposed to lead with this, and I really apologize. And thank you very much for your leadership. I really appreciate it. Board members will now turn to items of privilege before we have a brief break.
Just thank you again to everyone that continues to show up every day for kids, for families, doing the work, regardless of all the changes happening. It's what you do matters, and what you do truly counts for everyone. So thank you.
I just wanted to give a really quick acknowledgement to one of the high schools that's often overlooked, and that's our 6th Comprehensive High School Virtual Campus. I had the recent opportunity to go and visit Virtual Campus with Dr. Albarracin and Principal Banakati, and to see what they're doing as we talk about a 21st century model of learning, to see what they're doing as it relates to learning modalities and really helping meet students where they are with their learning needs. I had to give a special acknowledgement to them because we oftentimes don't think about those types of programs and those types of campuses that are really helping us keep this ship moving.
I just want to thank the families and the community members that showed up for us in our Reimagine Education talks that we had with our community members on all sides of town. So I just want to thank you guys for coming out and supporting us.
And I think that is what I'll add, which is hopefully Matt Smith, Amanda Miller, and Dave Berger, and I might be forgetting somebody else, are like sleeping because, and Dr. Roberts, I know was at most of them, that was a test of endurance. And so we appreciate you as staff for doing that as well. Okay, so with that, we are going to, Dr. Roberts, would you like to say anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair, with brevity, and certainly I would rather have my presence felt certainly there at the school board meeting. But as you shared earlier, Madam Chair, if there's ever a good reason for me to join the school board meeting virtually, this is one. Over the last couple of years, we have literally had thousands of teachers and leaders with the board's support around resource allocation that have been a part of our Unbound Ed sort of consortium. This is a consortium of school districts from around the country who recognize the importance and value of culturally responsive leadership and, more importantly, culturally responsive pedagogy. And Unbound Ed has created a framework that is nationally recognized and is certainly inspiring strong student outcomes. And Des Moines Public Schools has been identified as one of 3 districts in the entire country that is serving as an exemplar around implementing strong practices that truly focuses on grade level learning, but also delivers on engaging, meaningful, and affirming instructional practices for all of our students. a district such as Des Moines Public Schools, where we have more than 80 languages spoken and students hail from more than 110 different countries, it's necessary, it's absolutely critical that we are focused on culturally responsive education in order for us to move the needle for students. And so as I think about what the recognition means here, being one of 3 school districts in the country to receive this recognition, kudos goes out to our teaching and learning team, our curriculum team, and the thousands of teachers and leaders who have committed to Gleam instruction, as we look at how this is embedded in our 5-year strategic plan with priority 1 and at least 2 or 3 of our strategic actions. And so on tonight, on behalf of 30,826 students and almost 5,000 teammates and our board of directors, I am happy to accept this recognition on behalf of Des Moines Public Schools and bring it back to America's heartland. So thank you. Thank you for excusing my presence there with you all.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Ms. Knox.
Sorry, I realized I did want to make sure to invite the community to come see our fabulous students' artwork on display at Mainframe Studios this Friday. It is the first Friday featuring Des Moines Public Schools from 5 to 8 p.m. It is a really big deal. Please come bring your families and enjoy an evening of art by our talented students.
Great. Thank you. With that, thank you for joining us this evening. We appreciate you for being here. We are going to adjourn at 7:16 p.m. We're going to take a brief break and go into an open work session to discuss the district's budget, unless I hear differently from Dr. Roberts in the next 2 minutes. So board members, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll jump into budget. Hello? Okay, we are starting the budget session. So if you want to talk about the budget and learn more, we are glad you're here. Dr. Roberts is not on the line, but has entrusted his talented staff to take us through the presentation. And I'll maybe just give one or two framing points. Dr. Roberts and Shashank and I have been just a brief back and forth about how we make sure the board sees the full budget in the context of these expenditures, which is something that I think maybe has been missing, or we haven't caught it, or whatever it might be. So I think just expect Dr. Roberts or I or Shashank to come back, because part of this is we want to make sure that we're being transparent with the community, but also that we understand and can point people to documents if they're wanting to know how dollars are being spent and by what funding source and things like that. So with that, I think we're going to turn it over to you. And our goals for today are to review your recommendations for funding for goals and guardrails, just goals?
Just goals.
Okay, perfect.
Just goals.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, and this is definitely being recorded, right, for Dr. Roberts? Okay, thank you.
Perfect, great, good afternoon. So today's agenda is we want to talk about the property taxes, which we have to send to the Department of Management, and then review of 25 board goals and the investments, and the same thing for 26. So what exactly is the process? And this is what I had laid out in the first meeting that I had on the budget. So March 4th, which happens to be today, is when we are meeting to set the hearing date for March 25th. And that was part of the agenda session. Consent agenda, sorry. On March 5th is when we send to the Department of Management our proposed tax rate. 10th, we have to send it to the Des Moines Register, which will get published on 14th. And then on 25th, we have to have a standalone special board meeting for the proposed tax hearing. This is something which has already been shared with the board and the community. So what is our rate? Did I jump a slide?
Doubled, yeah.
Why is it jumping? Okay,
No, that's your next slide.
perfect. So our rate for FY '25 and '26 is exactly the same. We are not increasing or decreasing it. Even though the rate is the same, it brings in an additional $3 million for the district, $3.4 million. And that is because the valuation of the properties on which the properties are being valued has increased, our enrollment has increased marginally, and the SSA. Now here I would like to highlight to the board the assumption, since the SSA has not been approved, we know there is one side which is saying 2%, the House is saying 2.25, the governor has proposed 2%. What the law says is if we propose a tax rate, we can always lower it. We cannot increase it. So to be conservative, I have used 4%, and I sure hope it gets approved, but we all know that is more than unlikely.
Right.
But I would rather apply for 4% and reduce the tax rate than be in a situation that we have to leave some money on the table.
I just want to make sure that I'm following that. We apply for a higher rate knowing that we will probably use a lower rate. Is that?
Knowing that probably a lower rate will get approved by the governor, the House, and the Senate.
Okay.
Yes. So our tax rates for the last few years, I wanted to show this slide because since we're talking about the GO bonds, we know that if the bond, we go for the bonding and if the bond gets approved, there would be an increase in property tax rates. So historically, we have hovered from 25 to 21 at 18 plus a rate. We started coming down, and right now it is at 14.68. So from the peak of 18.61, to today, there's a difference of almost 4.
And that's connected to enrollment?
No.
Or is it a combination of we've made good choices also, or maybe tell us why?
This is our favorite question, Jackie.
Yes, I know.
This is the cash reserve levy and solvency ratio.
Oh, we talk about this all the time.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Okay. So investments in the board goals 2025. We know what the 3 goals are, so I don't want to repeat them. So this is where we were as far as 2025 board goals goes. $8.67 million was the total investment that we came to the board with. What we have tried to do over here is a few things. One is 4 large buckets: curriculum materials, extended learning, staffing and schedule changes, professional learnings. In each of them, we have listed big ticket items. We have detailed spreadsheets, which we sat down with the different directors and their team and discussed. And the G1, G2 is basically goal 1, goal 2, goal 3. That is what comes under actions. And under investments, we have tried to show what is general fund, what is SPED, and what is title, or what is coming from Gear Up or donations or whatever it is. So that is what we have tried to really highlight over here. I know it's a busy slide. I want to pause over here. If you have any questions versus me saying anything about it, please feel free to ask questions.
So
Robert?
this is actuals
This is
as
actuals.
of
As of
February?
January.
January.
Yes. February has not been closed. We typically close our months. The February books will be closed by around 12th to 13th of March. So February has not been closed.
Shashank, can you help me understand and this is more so from some of the comments in public forum around the future ready coaches. I see that they're in here.
This was FY25.
FY25.
Okay.
This is 25. So what has happened with Future Ready is this was part of a grant that we had received under ESSER from the state. And that grant is sunsetting in June of 2025. So in actuals, you will see that. But the reason why we don't have it, because that funding has sunsetted and there's no funding available to us.
We're going to try and find some.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So a lot of general fund expenses, which we see over here, are actually using the money that we are getting from AEA. A lot of it is coming from there.
And that's not restricted money?
It is not.
Okay.
The other large bucket that we're using is a lot of EQPD money, which is again that we are getting. So there's very little new dollars that we truly have over here.
What is the role of a curriculum manager?
And that is why I have Dr. Lundin to provide color to all that things.
Curriculum manager is taking the lead on working directly with our directors of teaching and learning and their curriculum specialist teams to look at specifically where we need to be revamping and or restocking curriculum tools and aligning that with our budget to make sure that we are on track in terms of
How
spending.
many do we have currently?
1.
Maybe help me understand teaching and learning and the role of teaching and learning then, staff in rolling out curriculum.
So our directors of teaching and learning take the lead. They have under them a group of curriculum specialists, and then we have a curriculum manager who is taking the lead on keeping abreast of what the condition is of our various curricular tools and coordinating that with the curriculum specialists.
So my understanding you that it's more of an administrative position almost, like a
Doesn't sound like a manager.
inventory position? I mean, it's like, is it literally like the condition of the inventory?
I wouldn't say it's a condition of the inventory. I would say it's appraising where our future needs are going to be in terms of curriculum tools.
And has this position been hired already?
This is FY '25.
Yeah, but has it actually happened?
Yes.
Got it. Questions on FY '25, anyone?
Thank you. So FY '26, the goals are exactly the same.
Wait, I have one question about FY '25. I was sort of reviewing our last go-round at the budget, and you had presented a slide last year that said, we was slotted to spend 9-point-something million on the goals, and we, to date, had really only spent 5.16. I was just kind of curious, how does this investment, have we executed on all of these strategies that we said we were going to? And if not, are we planning to? Can you provide any insight?
Yeah, if it's listed here, it's something that we have executed on, yes.
Okay. What was I think my question is, what did we say we were going to spend versus what we spent? I think, is that what you're asking? You made not you, but like a recommendation was made to spend, I'll just say $10 million, and only $5 million was spent. Why? Right? I think, is that what you're asking?
Right, but
for?
it sounds like you're saying that all of the funds that were predicted to be spent have been spent or are being spent.
That is accurate, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So for FY '26, we have tried to provide a little bit more details, but very similar formatting, the 4 different inputs that we have, what the investments are, what action are we taking, and what is the funding source.
How many, if any, dyslexia specialists do we have on staff currently?
We currently have one dyslexia specialist that's working with the curriculum specialist and a couple of others who are in the midst of receiving the training in that area, but we wanted to devote one exclusively to K-5.
And again, we are leveraging AEA funding for this, Jackie.
So another position that wouldn't work directly with students, but would be working with teachers and curriculum coordinators?
Primarily working with teachers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about the AmeriCorps Reading Corps plan?
Absolutely. AmeriCorps operates a group of tutors that, for a limited cost, deploy themselves out into schools and engage in reading with particularly students at our younger grades. Under the direction of our Director of Elementary Teaching and Learning, Allison Salo, she's really sparked a partnership with the AmeriCorps organization where we're going to be able to have a group of these Reading Corps tutors working directly with students in first and second grade in the coming year.
Do you know how many we're talking about, and what, are we going to cover all our elementary schools, or are we going to cover, what's the
It will be
coverage?
targeted elementary schools, and I want to say the number's close to 20.
What is the, can you give, I guess I'll ask this in a different way. Along with AmeriCorps volunteers, what efforts are being made to engage volunteers in the city of Des Moines in this, to get this reading goal going, particularly in reading? What efforts are being made to get to the business community to supplement that and make sure that we have volunteers across the district instead of the ability to just do targeted?
Sure. So I don't want to steal the thunder of Kaylee when it comes to what we're doing in the community, but we are very open and eager to bring in prospective volunteers to work directly with our students in reading in schools.
I think one of the barriers that we've heard is that background checks are taking 2 or 3 months to get done. How can you accelerate that process?
We've had conversations with talent and personnel around what process needs to look like there.
It's not their process, it's a third party, right?
It's a third party, but it's processed through the same platform as talent and personnel is. So that's something that I can come back to you with more information on in terms of how we might be able to accelerate that.
Yeah, because I think that's part of the issue is that people want to volunteer, but they're not able to get in, I think. Maria?
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about the specially designed instructions to support students with IEPs? What do you mean by that?
It's more of a catch-all to basically have tailored instructional support for students with our individualized education plans, whether it's specific curriculum materials that are unique to one student's IEPs or goals. It's more of a catch-all category there.
I have a question about pre-K. So pre-K is only funded at 0.5. We all support the movement for pre-K, and yet it does have costs that are taking general fund dollars. And I think it'd be helpful for us to fully realize the cost of adding pre-K because we're supplementing it, and now we're supplementing transportation. So I guess the question I want to ask is, included in this 1.6, is this just to increase pre-K classrooms, or is this all pre-K classrooms?
This is continuing of our pre-K classes, the money that we got from the city, plus our money. It's a combination of both. That's why we have got City of Des Moines money, which is coming, and then the UPK money that the district has.
But the city, this is our last year with the City of Des Moines money?
It's a 3-year thing. Is it year 2 or year 3?
Next year's our last year. Okay.
Next year's the last year? Okay, yeah, okay.
I'd love to know how much is coming from the general fund, and where does transportation for pre-K come out of?
So it will come out from the general funds.
I just think it'd be helpful for us to understand the investment in pre-K. It's really important. I think we all agree it's really important, but this is why the state of Iowa should be paying for it. I'll stop there. Board members, other questions?
So going back to the curricular materials, the National Geographic's MS curricular for ELL phonics, is that something that we have currently, or is that going to be?
That's FY26. That's going
Okay.
into the next school year.
Yeah.
Maybe you asked this, Jenna, just to clarify. Within staffing, that $1 million, how many of those are actually students, positions that work with students full-time?
So looking at the list there, we mentioned, the K through 5 dyslexia specialist is going to be supporting teachers who will in turn be supporting the students with dyslexia instruction. K through 1 classroom integration associates are working with students. Reading specialists will be working with teachers and with students. So it's a mix.
How many K through 1 classroom integration associates are there?
I don't have the number offhand, but I can get that for you.
I think
What does that role do?
Classroom integration associates are, I don't have an exact definition for you on that one, so I'm gonna have to come back to you on that.
I think it'd be really helpful to understand a little bit more. There's probably a theme here, which is we need more, my sense is maybe more people working directly with students or to understand how this group is going to accelerate our literacy rate quicker.
I guess I would add on to that, and I guess I would say I have heard from teachers who give the feedback that having one more person tell them what to do is not necessarily as helpful as having the support of someone to actually do it. And so we have budget realities here, but I would give you that feedback because while that's a this might be a well-intended role, some of these, that's sometimes the candid feedback that we get, that it's like, okay, thanks for telling me another thing to do, but it adds to the list of 96 other things that a teacher is doing in the classroom. So just for what that's worth.
Sure.
So maybe as we move on, maybe the feedback is, how do these new staffing positions and this new investment actually accelerate our ability to accomplish our literacy rates, which we're currently not meeting right now?
That's fair. Thanks. So goal 2 very much similar, and goal 3 would be very much similar. So if you have any questions, please fire away.
Is the Director of Teaching and Learning a new position for middle
No,
school?
that's funded from the sources there, but no, that is not a new position,
So it's funded by AEA?
in part.
Yes.
So there's general fund dollars too that fund this position? But it's just an open position right now, or?
No, it is not.
Okay.
So, yeah, to clarify, these are just all of the items in the budget that you've identified that support the goal. They're not all necessarily new investments.
Agreed.
These are investments that you're making that are supporting our goals.
Yes.
How would we
The
know if they were
asterisk
new?
items are new.
Okay, thank you.
At least that's how I'm reading it.
Correct. Absolutely.
I think it'd be helpful to know, so for example, on goal 2 then, how much is going into the ELL phonics that's new? Any ballpark? 100,000?
Give me just a second.
That's really the only new investment on goal 2. Am I missing something else?
No, that's the only one. You're right.
Okay.
Add new ELL phonics component to National Geographic
Yeah.
Middle School curriculum is roughly $45,000.
Do you think we could get a breakdown of all the new investments, maybe? Doesn't have to be right now, but that'd be really helpful to just be able to see, I believe that the strategy was accelerated growth, right? When the data for the projections on the board goals were. And so, I know we have some really big numbers that are put forth for this year, and wanting to just make sure we really think through if the investments are enough.
That's fair.
And actually, I think what would be helpful is what's been cut, right? So what isn't working that was cut? With a strategic plan and goals and guardrails that are intentionally very focused, what are we not doing? I think would also be helpful. I mean, I feel like we're giving you a laundry list, and I apologize to be that curt, but it's just helpful to see how we're also maybe try to save money for other things. Board members, other questions in this area?
Out of, in staffing, the reading and an ELA coordinator, what's the difference between that and then just a reading specialist?
Readings coordinator is somebody who's going to be working across schools. A reading specialist would be more of a coach within schools.
Is there any data to support either as more effective?
I think they serve different purposes, but I wouldn't say that there's data necessarily to show one versus the other. The coordinators become experts across the curricular area that are able to sort of disseminate best practice across various schools, whereas a reading specialist can be sort of embedded within that campus.
What's the relative cost benefit of doing one over the other? Again, getting more resources actually to, not that somebody who works across buildings doesn't work directly with kids, but just a more focused approach. Both are good practices, but is there any sense to doing one and focusing with what we have with limited resources?
I think there's value in being able to have the combination of breadth versus depth that the combination provides, and being able to draw from the lessons across multiple campuses as the coordinators are able to do. Reading specialists are able to hone in on a more concentrated way. So in answer to your question, if there is a cost-benefit analysis there, I think we're trying to find the right balance of what that balance would be.
I guess I would ask, why can't building leaders fill that purpose of coordinating and disseminating information across buildings so that we get to best practices? You know, I mean, I'm just trying to find a way to.
Yeah, well, coordinators,
down.
the term is a bit deceptive in that they're truly content area experts in the various curriculum areas that are there. And their job is to be engaged directly with the schools in the infusion of specific training and support and coaching with the schools.
Is that something teachers could be incentivized to do?
Teachers often make the move from teaching into the coordinator role based on exemplary performance in the role.
Board members, any additional questions on this slide? Okay, let's go to goal 3. Just maybe a framing question, Dr. Lendine. When will we actually see the vision and the metrics for the goal 3?
I know that Josie Sturgis was working on that as well, and I know she's out today. But we plan on coming to you at the next board meeting at the end of the month and having an update at that point.
And generally, can you give even if you don't have the numbers, like what is the goal that you're recommending?
I would want to wait until Josie is here so that we can speak with one voice.
Yeah, it's just really hard to make any decisions on investments if we don't know what is it Diploma Plus aligned? Is it?
My vision is that it is Diploma
Okay.
Plus line, yes.
Got it. Tell us about 9th grade on track. That looks like a new.
9th grade on track is our initiative. We'll actually be bringing forward folks that have been working on that project at our next board meeting as well, in which research that's been done with Chicago Public Schools and a couple of other school systems around the preconditions by which students who clear some benchmarks their freshman year are likely more successful as they graduate and beyond, are offered advisory type opportunities. So that's where we'll be bringing in the houses that we talked about at our last meeting for students to be sharing together what their progress is and where there's monitoring of grades and academic performance in the 9th grade year.
What is it exactly? Like, is it a person?
And it's basically, we have a 9th grade on track coordinator who is in turn working with teachers and academic advisors on the campus level to implement in the coming year.
But if we don't have if we don't have the advisors if we don't have the 6 advisors.
Well, they're not our only advisors. We've
Okay.
got a counseling team as well.
That I think there was some concern expressed about their bandwidth to do this work, right?
And that's where our 9th grade on track coordinator has been working closely with not only the counselors and academic advisors, but with folks across the campuses to make sure that there is appropriate bandwidth.
So we have counselors and academic advisors?
I sort of use the terms interchangeably,
They're
but
the
yeah.
same person?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to, yeah, go ahead,
So the 9th
Jenna.
grade on track person is hired already?
Yes, they've been on board for several months.
Oh, so that's not a new investment then?
It's a new investment for this school year, yeah.
But again, just so I'm understanding correctly, counselors have a much wider job than just helping advise students on classes and future work.
They do.
I'm going to say it because it's really been heavy on my heart. This is the major goal of our district. This is the big vision that our board cast, and we are cutting positions that are working with students right now, and I don't know what we're replacing them with. And I'm very frustrated because we seem to be moving backwards, not forwards. And I'm sad and I'm angry about it. And I'm angry about, $2.35 million going to staffing, and yet 6 people who are, I think, pretty good at their job don't have a job next year.
That's going to be tough to support. That's really just going to be very tough to support. If the mission of this board is to set out goals and then focus our resources on the goals that we've set out, we're not doing that. And I would just echo what Jackie said. I was very encouraged by the report that you gave us of a vision of freshman students next year starting their year with a 4-year plan and then being able to execute on that. That's a vision I really like of our high schools in general. I feel very nervous about that with the budget that's in front of us. And understanding that there are limited resources and that those tough choices will fall to this board, but I would say that this does not deliver on that. And so I would encourage maybe a second look and some further movement on goal 3 especially, but I think you heard us say the other 2 as well.
If you could help me understand just the process in which you make the decisions for which roles, programs get cut, is there a priority to maybe not continue roles that were grant funded? Is that how it's being viewed? Or are you looking at the fidelity, the successes of the roles themselves? Or is it really prioritizing it by this was grant funded, the grant is no longer continuing, so that's a larger amount of money we're going to have to pull out of a general fund or wherever else?
It's a great question.
For Future Ready, yes, that was one of the large decisions, big reasons why we made that decision.
So it's not effective?
No, because the grant
Grant
has
funded.
sunsetted.
Yeah, this is the second time we've seen a grant sunset with no plan. Same thing happened with the community school coordinators.
And so I'm thinking of the people that came and spoke to us earlier, and the nature of their work seems to me like directly aligns with what we're trying to do here in Goal 3. And, if we're all about student outcomes and providing support to students, if these individuals are with students from 9th grade and follow those students through high school, where are student outcomes if they are not going to have that support anymore? And so I think I just the frustration, I feel your frustration, because again, it's exactly what you said. We're repeating patterns, and it feels very regressive.
I'd be interested in knowing, and I'm not asking you to do this, but if you were to make a recommendation of a fiscal year '26 budget looking at efficacy of programs versus funding of programs, would these be the same recommendations? Because right now, it does seem like it's leaning more heavy on the funding versus the efficacy of the program's outcomes.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, Skylar. Yeah. And I think just a continued look, a lot of coordinators, and again, when we're talking this way, I hope if staff are paying attention to this, I don't want you to hear is that you don't have worth and you don't have value. I feel the need to say that because these are hard conversations, but I think the focus is positions that work with students, not just adding more to counselors and teachers.
I'll echo that and say, I hope you don't hear us saying, why don't you just do this? Like, we want our cake and eat it too. I think we understand that if we are asking for more somewhere, something's going to have to come out somewhere else. And I don't think this board is going to shy away from those conversations, but we do need to know more about the budget so that we can help be creative about those decisions. And that is my frustration for a year and a half now of saying, I would just like to know where the money is and what is permanent and what's not, and not at the 30,000 foot level. It is very hard for us to help make good decisions or help make hard decisions, back you up, if we don't know where the money is. And I understand the argument is that that gets into operations, but I think it's very difficult to ask anybody at this table to make decisions without information. And so I would encourage us next time around to continue to work more deeply in our budget, because this doesn't go away next year. That's the other piece of it. This doesn't stop.
I think I'd also like to just challenge my board members to look at this. I think this is my third year of looking at a budget presentation and our goals and guardrails in this way, in a very high level way, and ask how you feel after asking our community to come out and give so much of their time and energy to set these goals and put faith in us to come back and make improvements if we feel like this is really sufficiently delivering back to our community what they asked of us. I mean, I feel like we deserve a greater explanation to our community for what we're going to do to deliver on what they asked us to deliver on.
I appreciate that. And I was just going to say, and what we cut, because clearly we've put on a recommendation to cut a program. So what are we cutting that fits in this goal?
And I think that's part of proving out what we're trying to get to in the long term as well. I think if we don't prove that we can show some fiscal responsibility and focus, knowing that we have limited resources, going out and asking the community for more, if we're not getting real deep into making sure that we are as efficient as we possibly can be with delivering education, then that's also a really difficult ask. So I think this kind of conversation sets up larger ones.
Ms. Martirano?
One thing that I'm currently grappling with is this conversation and line of questioning as a budget presentation versus the conversation as a monitoring, or these questions as a monitoring conversation. We're asking a lot about inputs and how do we know it's successful regarding these goals. And I just, Shashank is not the person to answer these questions. He's the person that takes what it is that, as far as inputs are concerned, and finds the money to invest in those items. So when it comes to us trying to identify whether or not the action items are sufficient as have been identified to reach our goals, I think that we as a board need to really look at asking those questions as a part of monitoring the goals and ensuring that those next steps that are identified in our goal monitoring process are outlined. And one thing that I'm hearing is maybe we should put into our monitoring reports that this is the next step. Maybe it's 9th grade on track OPS. But maybe we should put a line item that says what that budget allocation would look like as a part of the monitoring. Because I just don't know that it's fair to ask these questions as a part of the budget conversation as much as it is more appropriate to ask it during the monitoring conversations throughout the year. Because that's when we're determining what those next steps are.
But I want to say one thing. I think you're right, and we have given a year to have this goal created and have a vision put forth, and we still haven't had that, and we have to pass a budget.
Yeah,
I think my only other thing is that our whole premise of reimagining education is grounded, a lot of it, in this. And so somehow, I would actually say we have to go back to the beginning and like, how does all this stuff fit together? And then what's the investment needed to accomplish that vision? And whether that means start at a zero-based budget and start from scratch. But I don't, the pressure that we have now is we have to approve something when we actually don't have any context. And so that's the challenge that we have.
I agree. I agree.
And Kim,
but I
you're-
just think
yeah.
I think that
Appreciate
Dr.
that.
Roberts needs to be answering these questions, quite frankly.
Yeah, and your point is well taken. For me, I think as a board member, it's not so much about getting to pick at budget time. It's understanding at budget time what the big picture is, to Jackie's point, understanding how all this fits together. That's the way we get to really effective monitoring, because our questions become much more focused and help Dr. Roberts think about the execution of the vision that we've all set out. And so I think that's what's missing for me, is there's a huge piece, because we say, well, this is what we funded. Okay, yeah, I guess, because I have no idea what that is or what that means or where it came from, or so I think I'd like a deeper dive here so that we can be more effective in the monitoring.
I'd like to take a question maybe a level higher, because it seems as if communications have already happened, as if this budget was approved, with especially some personnel. What is the process if employees are already being notified that their roles aren't continuing next year or programs are being sunset or whatever? What is the process and what is our role in this if these communications are already happening?
Staff allocations are done without board review and approval.
And it is part of that process, staff allocations.
Okay.
So I just want to back up to kind of what you said, Kim, because everyone else got it except for me. I guess I couldn't quite figure out what you were talking about. But my approach to my comments around the budget was from what I understood our role to be in our governance model, is that we're supposed to look at this budget and decide if we feel like the investment that the district has put forth matches the urgency to which we expect them to achieve the goals while honoring the guardrails that we put forward. And so that was my question to this board as a whole, is do you believe that 45,000 more into goal 2 is going to help us really achieve those numbers? And I think we all should look at the numbers that should be put forth, and the district should look at the numbers and goals they put forth and really think hard about whether this investment matches what we have put forth as the number one thing that we're supposed to be doing. Because if it's not, then it's an insufficient budget, I believe, is what we're taught to do, and we're supposed to reject it. And so that's where I was trying to bring the board along, because this is our point in time to say that we have really big goals next year, and we are not sufficiently convinced that $45,000 more into goal 2 is going to help us achieve it. That this is the moment for that, according to my training. And so I empower us all to think that way.
We agree. Thank you for being that clear. I think for us to, and Shashank has, I think, been through this how many years, so hopefully he doesn't take it personally. Thank you for navigating us through this. And I'm sure it's equally as hard that Dr. Roberts isn't here. So damn him for receiving an award and being on the West Coast. But he's watching this. So what I might recommend is a path forward, and maybe there's other slides, but I think just for the 3 slides that we've gone through is let's all reflect on it. Let's think about what questions we have. I mean, we've given a couple, but I'll just ask, everybody to send it to Skylar and I by Thursday, so we can give it to Dr. Roberts and team to reflect on it, because we're going to have to come back and look at this when you feel ready. Is there more?
Can I ask one other thing, a clarifying question? And Shashank, maybe you know, or Kim, maybe you do. The practice of staff allocation occurring before board review and approval. How, has that been a forever practice? Is that a relatively new practice?
It's been a very old practice. It's been
How
going on
long's
for-
very old?
I've been with the district for around 5 years. It's definitely older than 5 years.
Okay.
I don't know when it started. I don't know. Maybe Mac would have some idea. Zero idea. Zero? Sorry, no help in that area.
And Madam Chair, Rosie just alerted that AJ and Sendel are also online in case we have any questions for them.
Oh, just Sendel. Oh, Sendel just left the call.
Oh, okay.
AJ's left. One of the two of us left.
AJ has just left.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would offer, if there's coaching to be provided, then provide the coaching.
Speak up.
Yeah. Okay. Other slides, are there other things we
No,
want to
there was
cover?
basically, last slide is just a consolidation of what we have over there.
Okay.
Just, sorry, Chuck, just for the context of this conversation, on a budget of, we're talking about these investments on a total budget of,
The total general fund budget would be close to 500 plus, close to 470, 480 million dollars.
okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's why seeing the full budget is going to be helpful because we have no perspective on that number in the context of what. So it's not to go through that budget, but it is to understand how, I mean, the budget is, what do they call it? Like a reflection of your values and your priorities. So that will help us understand it as well. Okay, I'm going to recommend that we wrap up this work session, but then we stay here and we talk a little bit more about governance. Rosie did check, and we are able to have a conversation as a group, but then really intentionally, we're going to go into small groups for a 30-minute or less assignment. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yep, thank
I just wanted to acknowledge Shashank and Dr. Lundin really quick. You know, I feel like sometimes as board, we put you in the hot chair. Anytime someone sits there or stands there outside of the students, they get put in the hot chair. So I do want to just acknowledge you maintaining composure and knowing that we're asking this out of the kindness of our hearts because we care, not because we're challenging your thought process. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Team, do we want to go right into this, or do people need a break?